Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the What the Football channel. This is the BH and Scrubber Show. And on today's show, we're going to be reviewing the game the Commanders played this past weekend or this past Thursday against the Eagles. And it was a loss. It was a tough game. The boys did pretty good. A couple mistakes here and there, some coaching stuff, but learn their lesson. Join us this coming Friday. We're going to do a preview of the Cowboys game. So make sure you tune in for that on Friday. Then on Sunday, I will be calling the game live. So join us live. And BH, of course, will be in the chat room. Ask him questions. It's always a lot of fun. Welcome, BH.
Thanks, man. Good to be here. Yeah, everybody get into that chat room. It's a lot of fun. We had a lot of our regulars were in there. Our standard bearers were there, and, you know, like Chris and V were there, and Wheezy D. But it's a lot of fun. It's kind of crazy. So, and next Friday, not only we're going to be talking about that, our next the Cowboys, but we might even do a little look ahead. Like, let's see what's transpiring out in front of us and do some speculating and what's going to, some fun things to think about for our football team.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, we knew that this 2-game stretch was going to be tough way back when we saw the schedule, and sure as hell, it was tough. Really good football teams. Like you said, there was play calling, some play calls, and it didn't work that great. Some coaches' decisions might not have been that great. Execution here and there, not good. And so, we didn't get just shredded and ripped out. There was a stretch there where I think where we lost our focus, and Saquon got 2 touchdowns pretty quick. He's an animal, man. That guy is, I don't know what the hell. What were the Giants? Keep Danny Dimes and let that guy go, right? Yeah, I know. See, stuff like that's what's wrong. That's why the internet's so messed up. Stuff like that makes all these internet guys think they're so smart. But at the end of the day, most of us would have gone the other way around. But anyway, I digress. I think just to get really quick, we had some good play on offense. The running backs were really good. John Bates had a really good game. And Jaden Still, he had one of his lower games, had a 63.9 by PFF. So once again, he had a turnover, but his turnovers are low. I mean, he's, he doesn't do that turnover shit. Zach Ertz, number 1, 84.9, not surprising. He's been so good for us, so surprisingly good. And that touchdown in the back of the end zone was pretty good for a 34-year-old guy coming off a torn ACL.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he was looking good.
Yeah, that looked good. So that's all good. I mean, I'm glad he's there for Jaden because he does seem like a security blanket as he gets his confidence. He almost always, maybe he goes to him a little bit too much at times, but it's just good for a young quarterback to have a security blanket, man. The guy that will be open and get your balls. And so I think our biggest struggle in that game was kind of our D-line. We got kind of manhandled, really, in the trenches, watching some all-22. They moved us pretty good all the way around. And so, I mean, it wasn't an awful game or anything, but I watched some all-20, like I said, all-22. I looked at some of the PFF stuff, and it kind of, sometimes PFF doesn't match up to what you saw, but in this time it did. But on the bright side, as usual, Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu had really good games. And then the big game was Mike Sainristil.
Yeah.
He got an 89 on PFF, and he played like an 89. And so going forward, that's good. I mean, he's been playing that outside corner because we have to, because our outside guys just get torched by everyone's number 1 wide receiver. And he's sort of been put in that position, even though he has been he's basically a really good slot guy because he's a great tackler. And we're kind of hurting in that respect. Iggy is playing is doing the slot,
Mm-hmm.
and he's good at coverage, but and when you look at his tackling numbers and his just run defense numbers, he's getting a little bit smoked. It's a tough decision. I mean, it's a tough position because,
Yeah.
like we talked about before, when you're close to the line, when you're that uh, covering those slot receivers, and so they will run, and you're supposed to get in there and break that up. And then I think Sainristil has shown, and especially in college, that was a big thing for him. He wasn't afraid to come up and take guys on. It's a little toughy for Iggy. So, but anyway, hats off to him. I, I want to know from your standpoint, what did you think of the going for it on 4th and 2?
Oh, yeah. You're a genius when you get it, and you're an idiot when you don't. But my thinking, going back and thinking about what I was thinking at the time, is take the points.
Yeah.
You were already struggling trying to, the 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 stats say go for it when you're doing good, but we weren't doing that good that game. You know what I mean? The whatever the statistics would normally say yes, but for this game, I was thinking no. Take points, take points. We would have been. The difference is you kicked the field goal. Now you're 1 point ahead. You're feeling good. You made a great play. The other is we didn't make it on 4th and 2. Now we're still losing, and we turn the ball over to the other team. Those are two different ways of thinking, and it affects the team in that way. And so, yeah, I didn't think they should have went for it. And plus, the play got blown up, very poorly executed. Yeah,
Yeah.
just thought it was a terrible play.
That's kind of what coach said. Even he said, hey, he goes, what he said was, we're very successful with that, and that is part of who we are. And he said we practice it. We don't just go, hey man, it's 4th, let's go for it, man. We practice 4th down. We practice what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you make a good point about but what's the feeling of the team? And at the time, kind of a struggle. And so from a positive standpoint, to go up on that team, that is really a positive thing. And I kind of get where coach is coming from. He's like, hey, this is something we go for it and we practice it. And then even Jayden said it was his fault on the bobble because he said he was not definitive and loud enough on the call. And he said, so Biadasz, he said, wasn't getting it in his ear. And he said he probably snapped it too soon. But he said, that's on him. I don't think Aaron Rodgers would have done that. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers thrown Biadasz under the, way down under. But he didn't. He took responsibility. I bet he was a little nervous. That's a tough defense. You're going to have to roll out and throw, and you could just tell it was all bobbled, ran right. It was disaster.
Yeah.
So, but these are the things you have to learn. Unfortunately. Take a beating like that. I watched Pittsburgh today. That's a good football team. I know I'm going back one game, but I just want to understand that these two teams, man, they're not a joke, man.
Yeah.
They are tough as hell, man. They're just brutal. And watching the all-22s, you could see it. But I'm glad our O-line went up against. I watched a lot of all-22s of our games with our offensive line, specifically with the O-line. I kind of like watching that. And they do it really good, and they twist and they turn and they get guys. Well, in these two games, they did really good. Don't get me wrong. But boy, you could see the speed and the action, and they were blown calls. And I mean, Wiley, man, he guy had a kind of a rough game, man. I watched him, although forget his PFF score. It wasn't great, but other players had worse. But I mean, watching him, he had kind of a rough game. I mean, he just went the wrong way.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. I don't get when you go that away and there's already two guys blocking that way, and then the guy comes in this way. He kind of did a lot of that, and he whiffed on some run plays. He was kind of bad in space. I don't want to just single him out because plenty of mistakes by everybody. But even in run plays, when he was going out to block, he just didn't seem good in space. He couldn't line up a guy, and well, he'll watch the film like everyone else, and he'll go, God damn, I got to do a better job, man. This is terrible. So, Yeah, and I don't know what you think, but I'm pretty sure Jaden is not 100% from that rib injury. I'm sure he's just not all there. I mean, he seems to throw okay, and he sure threw a dart to Ertz. I mean, that was a missile. He put that right where it was, but don't see as many deep plays, and he sure doesn't look like he wants to run much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just doesn't have that. I'll just go out there. They're not really calling too many plays for him. Like compared to the beginning of the season, he was a weapon on the ground, and
Yeah.
now he's like, it's kind of like Daniel Jones style. So he's probably hurting. I think he could really benefit from this long break.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I didn't think he was up to his game. He did throw some good ones, but he threw some crappy ones. He threw some in the dirt, especially towards the end there. And I don't know. I think they over relied on Eckler and Ertz. McLaurin only got 2 looks and only
yep,
caught one of them. Same with I think Noah Brown had 4 looks and only caught one. Zacchaeus only had 2 looks. Jeremy Brown only had 2 looks. Luke McCaffrey only had one, and I don't even think he caught that one.
yeah,
And so I don't know what happened to the pass game. Eckler was the whole team.
yeah,
He really was, and he's a beast. That guy, he's a freaking animal. But he did a great job. Um, I don't know the offense. I mean, we got lucky that Pittsburgh fucked up that fake punt. Or else we
yeah,
wouldn't have had that 7 early on. I mean, that was handed to us. Basically,
yeah,
it wasn't anything
yeah,
that the offense did or that
yep,
the team did to make that happen. They fucked up, and we took
yep,
advantage of it. And then we were what? It was 10-6 going into the fourth quarter, and I felt like our defense was doing a good job against them all the way up to the fourth quarter. Now you can't ask the defense to be out there as long as they're out there all the time.
yep,
It's just not fair. And I'm starting to look more and more looking at time of possession. They had 6 more minutes than us. So fuck, last week Steelers had 13 more minutes than us. So our defense is out there too long. I thought they did a great job. I really do. I mean, towards the end there, Saquon Barkley is going to run over anybody. You just give him
yeah,
enough. And so I thought the turning point was the field goal at 4th and 2. I felt like that was we were done for there. And then of course the interception late in the game that just capped it off. So we weren't going to do nothing after that.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was that, and that was a bad throw. It
yeah,
was a bad throw. Even the DB made a good play on it because it was way in the ground, and he threw behind a lot of guys. So
yep,
his confidence level, and this is that also. That's another thing you got. There's so many things going on. The team's got lots of film on him now. They got lots of film on our scheme
yes,
now.
yes,
He's a little banged up in the ribs, and then you add to that rookie wall because in college you get to go to class, you do some game film stuff, and mostly in college, man, they're just stars and they're just stud athletes, and they rely on that. The NFL is a whole different game. Your whole life is the NFL. It's a film room. It's this room. It's the break room. You're just constantly going, and a lot of players will tell you. They'll look back on their career and they'll just, what was like being a rookie, and they'll tell you, oh my God, man,
yeah,
by the 11th week,
yeah,
I had taken in so much mental
yeah,
information, and my body was, these guys are monsters out here, and I hit a wall. I mean, I kept playing, but
yeah,
so we'll talk about this next Friday. Kind of the future of this team and what could happen.
yeah,
But basically, getting this long break after the Thursday is going to be great for everyone's physical being, their mental being. We got 2 games, and then we have our bye week. Once again,
yep,
a nice big break, so you can get mentally healthy and physically healthy. It'll be interesting to see. We'll talk more about that. And but yeah, I think Jaden, he started off great, but I think he has kind of hit a wall, especially
yeah,
like you said. I've never saw him miss so many passes. He's been pretty
yeah,
darn accurate, but
yep,
his accuracy is kind of plummeted. So
yep.
we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Defenses have got Cliff Kingsbury figured out, got Jaden figured out. Especially, you're going up against Big Fangio. He knows what he's doing. They've done their homework, and it looked like it. So
Yeah.
hopefully we're going up against the Cowboys next Sunday. So hopefully we got that one figured out. But we'll talk about that more on Friday. It was a tough game. We expect to lose games.
Yep.
So these were the types of games we were going to lose. So maybe when Philadelphia comes to our part of the town, we could split with them, go 1-1. That would be ideal. Beat them on our home turf. So
that would be good. And you can't get better, like you say, man. Steel sharpens steel, man. Yep. You don't get better playing, New Orleans and Carolina. You get better playing the Eagles and the Steelers, guys that kick your ass.
Hell yeah.
So,
all right.
All right, man. We did it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on Friday.